Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us again for another episode of Campbell Talk. And tonight we have a couple of folks on, and they're going to be talking about sex trafficking and trafficking in general. And if you've never heard that word before, I want you to be prepared to learn so we can grow together. And so tonight we're going to have several guests on, and we will do intro when everyone jumps on. And if you know someone, this is a very, very serious topic, y'all. We're going to be talking about some things. The first, we're going to provide some education of what it is, why it is important for you and me and everyone to be aware. We're going to hear how we can, tips on how we can kind of like starve off this from happening. But also, we're going to hear from some amazing and talented individuals and the work that they're doing to promote the awareness and to prevent this from happening to people within our community. And specifically, it could just be the information here could also prevent this from happening to your family or your family members. So what I want you to do right now, if you are out there in Facebook and YouTube land, to like and share, call some family members or share with some family members so they can join, because we all have to kind of like each one teach one, and we all have to learn together so our community can grow together. And as always, it's important for you to know your status and get tested, because if you don't get tested, you don't know. You can't look at somebody and tell if they have HIV or not. So it's important for you to know your status. And the only way you can do that is to get tested. Your partner's status is not your status. And your status is not their status. Um, you know, you equals you. If you are a person living with HIV and you're undetectable, you're untransmittable. Find out what your options are if you're HIV negative and you are having multiple partners, to see if PrEP could be an option for you, or PEP. And also remember, like Dr. Sandra Anderson says, we're in it to end it. All right. And so we're going to get started and we'll be right back. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for being on the show tonight. And I listen, every time I hear the subject comes up, I learn so much and learn so much new information. And so like I told the guests who are watching, like, share, subscribe, follow, and we're gonna be able to put some stuff in the link so people can know where they can get resources if they're experiencing trafficking, if they're looking for resources, if they're just needing to connect with someone so they can heal from it, whatever it is. I want us to really be able to share that information so folks can know how to access those resources. So tonight, y'all, I want you to join my guests. I'm just going to do first names. We have Nisi, we have Angel, we have Tamika, and we have Sandra.
Thank you
So
so much.
let's say.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll start with Angel. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here and to help educate you on the topic of human trafficking. And my name is Angel Carter.
Hi, everyone. Oh, I figured we were going in orders. Hey, everyone. My name is Tanika Clark. I'm actually happy to be here as well, just as Angel said, to be able to just really just make everyone aware of what's going on in our communities.
Hi, everybody. My name is, ooh, that's an echo. My name is Nisi Johnson, And I am super thrilled, along with Angel and Tanika and Dr. Sandy and Ricardo here. We're very, very happy to be here tonight to talk to you about a subject that is near and dear to all of our hearts. This is anti-human trafficking month, but for us, it's all year long, right? And so our goal is to make these conversations a part of the dinner table, a part of our churches, a part of our schools, a part of our community. So we are super excited to actually talk to you tonight.
Thank you. I'm really excited to talk to you guys. I'm telling you, like, I've spoken to Dr. Sandra about this a lot. I know Angel, we've talked and share, and it's just, it's like every time. And like I was, when, it's funny. I was driving back from Central Florida, and we were having a conversation in the car with some of my family members because we were driving back, and I was saying, when people hear trafficking all the time, they think females only, right? And I was like, boys, teenage boys, men can also be trafficked.
Absolutely.
And I remember one of the questions I got was like, how would that happen? Like how? And I was like, people run away from home. Sometimes people are waiting on the bus. Sometimes people get drugged. I mean, it can a number of different ways. But I tell them, I say, you better watch tonight so the experts can tell you.
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk about that in particular. I want Sandy to go ahead and do her introduction, but
Yes.
that in particular, that subject is something I'm excited to talk about.
How true, Nisi. Thank you so much. And Ricardo, thank you so much for having us. I'm Sandra Anderson. This topic is so near and dear to my heart because at 11 years old, I went through trafficking. Of course, it's not called trafficking to victims. We don't know that we've been trafficked, especially at such a young age. We don't know that we've been taken. We just know that something scary and horrible is happening. And we can't make meaning depending on what age we are. Now, sometimes we can be older, like you were saying earlier about young men who also go through trafficking, and we may have a better understanding of what's happening to us at the time. But at my young age, I had no clue, and I did not say it was trafficking. I just knew something horrible and something scary was happening to me again. So thank you for having us, Ricardo, and we're very excited to be here to educate your listeners and the audience, and it's going to save someone's life.
Thank you. What I think we're gonna do also is that because to manage the echo, um,
Yeah.
we'll probably have to mute our mics while everyone is talking, because that might help a little bit. All right.
And I just want to say something, Ricardo, before we get started, is there is a film, and I know that Nisi and Tanika, they are the ones that brought us into this amazing Taken Innocence Project docuseries. My life was forever changed and doubly blessed when the Lord brought them into my life. So I'm so excited for the viewers to see their film. And I'm going to go on mute and let you take it from there.
Yeah. Send me. There's a link for it, right? Like a preview link.
There's actually there's actually a link, a few links for the different series, and I'll let Nisi go ahead and explain that. Whichever you're on mute, Nisi.
You're
Whichever
muted.
part that you want to.
Okay. So let me ask you for tonight, did you guys want to actually show an episode? Is that what the goal? Is that what you want to do? Show
I thought we would be able to show like is it the intro, the trailer?
The trailer. Okay. So yes, we can definitely get you the link. I'm gonna go off camera just a second, and Ricardo, I'll shoot it over to you. Okay.
All right, not a problem.
Okay.
All right, so Angel, why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit about you, and how did you get started or got thrown into this, right? Like, how did you become part of this movement?
Thank you for asking me. It's a wonderful question. Unfortunately, it was a very difficult reason I got thrown into understanding what human trafficking was. It was at my daughter's demise. 5 years ago, she was trafficked and left for dead. And it really changed my life, because to me, when I pictured trafficking, because I wasn't educated, like most of us are not, because we don't see it in our life. So when I looked at trafficking, I thought about a creepy, white van snatching you off the side of the road. And that's not the case in my story. In my story, my daughter was trafficked by her friends at school, people that she loved, people that she trusted. They are the ones that lured her in and trafficked her and then left her for dead once they poisoned her. And yeah, so for me, it was very, very difficult. I apologize that I'm jumping in so deep right now, but this is my story, and this is the only way I know how to tell it, is to just to be raw and real and honest about it. It's a very dark subject, and our colors for human trafficking are blue, but I wore black today because I'm wearing black for all of those who have lost their lives because of trafficking. And it's such a dark and mourning subject that I wanted to represent by wearing black today.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Tamika?
Hi. So I just wanted to say, Angel, you never, ever, ever need to apologize for sharing, you know, any part of your story, unless, we're speaking to children that need to be censored. But uh, your story just gives so many people so much strength. And we are just honored to have you be a part of the documentary and for people to be able to hear your story, because there's so many um, factors, vulnerabilities, things that you share that hit so many different people's homes and realities in so many different ways. And I think that, the world needs to and will hear your story. But uh, the way that I got into this, specifically the film and the work, was I've always known, once I found out about trafficking, that I needed to do something. I just needed to do something. I didn't know how I would go about it. I didn't know what that was. I had some, personal experiences. I haven't been trafficked or molested or any of that, but the women around me all have, and I've been exposed to so much of their story and their lives. And so when I heard it, I was enraged when I knew what was happening, primarily overseas at the time, because that's what we all knew or thought was happening. Didn't know it was in our backyard. So uh, I was on a project. To make a long story short, niece project, another film that she had written. I was an actress on the film, and we were sharing our passions. We connected, and like I shared in the last Zoom that we did. It was just a feeling, like, it more than a feeling. It was we were carrying something. We became pregnant with this thing, and we knew that we had to just bring it forth. And so we did that, and God literally aligned every single thing, that everything just started to fall into place. We met the right people that we needed to meet to tell the stories of so many women, children, boys, and Nisi and I both have sons as well. So that's more or less the things that caused us to really just open on this.
Um, Nisi?
Yes, and I don't know if you've seen. I sent you the link. I don't know if you can see it in the chat.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'm trying to queue it up so we can share it when
oh,
at a particular time.
okay. No problem. So yeah, so like Tanika said, we met on a set of another project that I had written on, and we were having conversations about sex trafficking. And I would say prior to that, and Sandy, you guys have heard me tell my story now 100 times. I think prior to being even involved in sex trafficking, I never really shared my own personal story, and I felt like um, I don't know, I didn't really have, I wouldn't say the need to, but the opportunity. I don't know if I really embraced my own personal story. And so for me, I grew up in a home where domestic violence was a thing. And in fact, I came from three generations of domestic violence. So my grandmother, my mother, and I grew up with that. And then it ended with me. And I'm saying ended with me because I feel like I have broken that generational curse over my own family. And so it was a price that I had to pay for that. And that price was when I broke out of the relationship, he tried to kill me 3 times in a span of a couple of months. And he went to jail, and I'm giving you the Cliff Notes version of it. He went to jail for almost 4 years for what he did to me. And when he got out, his family set him up with another young woman, very, very early 20s. She had 2 kids, 2-year old and a 3-year old. And then he killed her 6 months into the relationship. And so just knowing that he took someone else's life and that he had made 3 attempts on my life led me to really realize that God left me on this earth for a reason. But I had survivor's remorse because I kept asking God and I was questioning him. Like, this woman was a mother. I didn't have any kids at this time. I had a comfortable life. I wasn't contributing to the community. I didn't know, like, it surely wasn't like, okay, he wanted me to go to church, right? It had to be more than that. I just didn't know what it was. And I felt like I was failing God. And that was, for me, a very painful process just to get through to find out what my purpose was. And it wasn't until I started doing the research about human trafficking. And like Tanika said, I saw first overseas, and then I started to see that it was happening right here on American shores. And I was appalled. I was like, how can something like this happen right here in my hometown, in our country, America, which is supposed to be the home of the great? How can something like that happen when slavery was supposed to be abolished, when we have the wealth that we have in this country? How can something like that happen here and nobody talk about it? Like, no one was talking about it. So when we approached the documentary, we wanted to answer all of the questions that we had, right? The who, what, when, where, and why. Who is this happening to? Who are the targets? Why are they the targets? And why? Like, I one of the questions I had is, what is law enforcement doing about this? What is the FBI doing about this? How is this really happening in broad daylight and we are not talking about it? And so we interviewed our survivors, both Angel and Dr. Sandy. We interviewed the FBI because we wanted to get the, answer, like I said, all of the questions that other parents would be asking. And so we also interviewed safe houses. And, what we learned is, well, it was definitely worse than what I thought, right? If whatever people think it is, it's worse than what you thought. The stories that you hear, that you have to embrace in order to do something about it. The stories are horrific, right? And so a lot of times as humans, we don't try to get involved in something until it actually directly impacts us. So what we're asking for is for the community to be proactive, right? Proactive in their thought process, just like we did in the 90s when it came to drugs. So that is kind of long, but
Okay.
that is
No worries.
yeah.
And to the guests out there, feel free to put questions in the comment section. We will do our best to get your question answered live. So absolutely, if you have questions, just please write your questions in, and we'll do our best to do that, to get that done. If you have my phone number, text me. If you don't want to put it out there, text it to me, and I will definitely read it out live for you. Dr. Sandra.
Yes, Ricardo. So same question. I'm gathering.
Yeah.
How did I get into this? Well, it was these two beautiful women that you see on the screen today. It was Tanika Clark and Nisi Johnson. And I was invited to a church in Miami, Florida, and I was asked to give my testimony. And it was actually Roger D. Hart that invited me, and it just took off from there. I gave my story and was pulled into the pastor's office, literally. And that night, I happened to ask my mentee Angel Carter to come with me. I've always invited her to different events. I always want to invite her into my circle so she can start to continue her healing journey. And she said yes. So when I was pulled into the office, the pastor's office, after telling my story at I believe it was Harvest Fire, right, Nisi and Tanika? And after I was invited to the office, I says, well, my mentee is out there. I would like her to come in here with me because I left her. I don't want to leave her out there. And then I said, and she has a story as well that you need to hear about her daughter that was tragically killed in sex trafficking. You know, as a survivor of sex trafficking, and like I said, it's so difficult to even say trafficking because it's normalized, especially in the African American community. And I'm going to say that, and I'm going to say it with unapologetically. We normalize it because of epigenetics research now has taught us that even the very DNA of a people group that has been so historically traumatized. We were trafficked here, right? We were trafficked to this country. And from there, from labor trafficking, we went through it. The sexual aspects of human trafficking, we went through it. Every gamut of trafficking, of human trafficking, we went through it. But because back in those times we were seen as 1/3 human, then it was almost as if nothing ever happened. And so what does that look like now? And now, of course, we're talking about transgenerational trauma. Even in this new movie that we watched called Encanta, we're talking about transgenerational trauma. And what does that look like for migrants? Right? What does that look like for Holocaust survivors? But it looks very, very different in the lives of a people group that it's been 400 years. 400 years of not having the reparations and the redress that's due this community because of the entrenched trauma. And so when I went through trafficking at the age of 11, and I'm trying to say human trafficking because it's human trafficking, and I know it was sex trafficking, but we want to use that overarching term of human trafficking just to give it, just not to leave anything out of what that means. And so now, as a member of the National Council of Negro Women, Human Trafficking Committee, we're learning the terms. We're digging a little bit deeper and making sure that we're being impactful to bring an end to this monstrous trade. And I say monstrous trade, and I quote that from William Wilberforce because he's the one that stopped the slave trade of Africans coming from Africa and being trafficked throughout the Americas and the Caribbean. It was William Wilberforce that helped to put an end to the transatlantic slave trade. And so with that being said, again, Richardo, we're so grateful that you're providing a platform so more people can understand what is happening. And again, you may not even see it as human trafficking or sex trafficking or trafficking at all. But if you're being exploited, if you're being used for sex, if you're being used for labor, if you're being used in any way against your will, and sometimes, by the way, we buy into it. So that's even a slippery slope to say against your will, because psychologically we buy into this. It's called Stockholm syndrome. It's called dissociation. We will buy into this life where when we feel like we can't fight and we can't run, we will freeze and we will fall in place and we will stay there and we will buy into our own demise. Even to what Nisi was talking about with domestic violence, same thing. When we can't fight and we can't run. The amygdala will just, there's no, that alarm will be silenced by this paralyzing fear and this helplessness, and we will stay right there. And I stayed there for many years until God set me free and gave me a voice to speak against it.
Thank you for sharing. Now, you touched on something, when you talk about human trafficking. And so, I don't want to hear, when people hear that, sometimes they think about the TV version where, like, somebody like, steal some people from Mexico and they drive them in the trail. And I'm not saying that that's not part of it, but that's kind of like what people see. And then they see it on TV and they go, oh, it's fiction, like it's fictional because, in the movies, they're just trafficking and somebody always shows up and save them in the end. You know how that goes. So can you tell us like a little bit about like how serious this is? I think someone mentioned creepy white vans before, Angel, I think it was. So like and I think that's something that a lot of people don't think about. It's like you're at the shopping mall, and when you went into the mall, there was like two cars next to your car. You come out, and then there's like two vans or a van parked next to your car on the driver's side. No windows, no nothing. And sometimes people don't think about it. There's like just a regular day. So even in a situation like that, that could get you caught up in this whole thing. So I think sometimes, it's like saying we have to start thinking about safety in the sense of something simple like going to the mall. So, can you share kind of like how, like, what are some t- tactics, or what are some things that people use that we might think with is just nothing wrong, that's just very ordinary, that people have used to kind of like take people or steal people?
So I think I'll take that and then we'll go around the room. So I'll go very quickly. So I think one of the best tactics we can do, Ricciardo, is being aware, because we had a talk the other day about red flags. And I said, there's no red flags right now. And what I did is I did an exercise, and I'll do it very quickly with us. Tell me what's blue. And if you can all unmute yourself just for a moment, just indulge me. Tell me, what do you see that's blue?
The dress.
Your dress and Tanika's dress.
Okay, what's green? You see anything
The
green?
book
The
in
book
behind
behind
you.
you
Yeah.
and the leaves.
Okay, one more question. What's black? What do you see that's black?
Angel's dress, the picture that says gratitude behind
Okay,
Ricciardo.
okay, thank you so much. Now close your eyes. No peeking. Close your eyes. Um, what's close your eyes for me, Nisi, and tell me what is purple. Okay, open your eyes.
I
Open
know.
your eyes. Okay, so the reason I do this is to show you we only see what we're looking for. And so it's very difficult to just narrow it down to, like Angel said, the van, the creepy van, or the person that looks creepy. Most people who traffic people don't have the look of looking creepy. The people who took Alexis from her school and befriended her, she allowed them in her life because she felt a sense of safety with them. So they earn your safety. They use what's called dark psychology, and that's how they get you. So the best thing you can do, and the best tactics that I can offer as a counselor, is for you to give your children, male and female, the resolve in them to know what to look for, to be so self-confident, okay, to understand their voice. And I'll tell you what that looks like very quickly, because I want to hear everyone. I ran a camp called Camp Nana years ago. I have 16 beautiful grandchildren right now. Back in those days when I ran Camp Nana, and I say back in those days, that wasn't really long ago. That was like 2010 to 2011 when I was working at the school district. And what Camp Nana was I was able to have my grandchildren for the summer. And that's what I wanted, because I worked for the school district. I had the summer off, and the parents could go and they could just go have a second honeymoon or just go gallivant around states and just live your life and let me have my grandkids for the summer. And I had a full curriculum with them. Spanish, they had music lessons, they had dance lessons, they had to get up and we made breakfast. But one thing I added to this curriculum was safety. And I became a person called Jeffrey. And they would laugh and giggle because they just saw grandma, acting funny. But this was something that I needed to teach them. First of all, confidence. So I said, you're driving. And of course, here's my grandchildren, and they're like 6, 8, 10, and another little one. And they're like, Nana, we don't drive. I'm like, you're driving today. And you're driving. And where do you park when you go to a store? And make a long story short, you park under a light. You always stay in twos. You never be alone. You don't look down. You are not on your phone, right? So we went through a role play. I didn't tell them. I role played with them. And then I say, you're not on your phone. I say, but what if Alicia, which is my granddaughter that just danced at the Roar graduation. I said, what if Alicia's on her phone and she forgets? And then here comes Jeffrey. So Alicia pretended to be on her phone. I came up behind her and I grabbed her. And I mean, I really grabbed her. I say, what do you do? Of course, she giggled and laughed because it's me. I says, no, you need to fight. And I grabbed her. I said, you kick, you fight, and you scream. You use the best voice. The best weapon you have is your voice. And we went through that over and over again until they were so confident. They were so loud and they kicked. And I taught them how to kick the shin, the knee, the groin. I taught them all of that. So the best tactic to your question, Richardo, that you can do is don't teach red flags, because the red flag is really a rainbow flag. People are going to find out what you like and they're going to find their way into your heart. The best thing you can do is teach your children the resolve. Teach them that a friend doesn't mean codependency. Okay, it doesn't mean codependency. It means you're self-differentiated from your friend, and then teach them their voice. So when something happens, whether it's a school shooting or someone actively trying to take them, you teach them how to fight. You go through the role play with them, because if they have that point of reference, they're going to know what to do. And I'll pass that to someone else, the same question, if that's okay.
I just want to say, I just want to piggyback off of what you said in the beginning. We're looking for the drug addict or the guy in the hoodie. You said it very well in the documentary film, when it's actually, the businessman or woman. And I just want to say, for a tip that I would give is, with my daughter, with her friends, she began to take pictures of herself. You said phone. And I just want to back off of that, being on your phone. My daughter began to take pictures of herself, sending them to friends. She thought it was innocent. And that's how she first began to be targeted. So I would say to educate your children also with the phone, the internet, what they're putting out there, who they're talking to, because you never know who is sitting behind that computer or on the other end of that phone looking at them, and they're placing them forbidden. So they're bidding them. My daughter was in a bid. She was in a bid before just by putting pictures out there. So I would say, make your children aware. Teach them what it is, and then teach them about the phone, who they're talking to, what to place out there, what not to place out there, and to be careful. Know your surroundings and know your friends.
I can't tell you enough how much me and my husband have gone through with our 13-year-old, and we've gone through his phone. We go through messagings with him. And when we see little things of how certain things are being communicated, we use that as examples to talk to him about why he shouldn't be having these conversations. Or like recently, he was thrown into one of those group chat things, and his phone kept dinging and dinging and dinging. And I'm like, there's like 50 people in here. And I was like, who are these people? And he's like, I don't know. My friend added me to this group chat. And I was like, let's talk about your friend. How long have you known this friend? And we started going through. And so what we spend a lot of time talking about is that you have to be your own individual person. You have to be able to make your own decisions. and be aware. And if somebody's asking you to do things that you're not comfortable with, don't just follow along because you want to be cool and you want to have a friend. And also, we talked about the group chat. It's like if someone puts you in a group chat like this, you don't know all these people. Some of them are cursing, some of them are saying, and I was just like, I was like, when you're thrown into something like this, you have to say, please remove my number or please delete me from this. Or you delete the chat or block the numbers so this way you're not caught up in that whole mess. And so, I was like, what if they start doing stuff like illegal stuff and they're sharing pictures of things that they're not supposed to and all of that? Now you're like included in this, like unwillingly. So we spent a lot of time talking, but I know a lot of parents are not having that conversation. And so it's like, where do I know I love your Jeffrey role play. I think that's really awesome. But like, where do parents start? And I think that's the question that like a lot of folks would be, asking, like, where, like, yes, start with the conversation, but like,
Yeah. I think for me, I started first with talking to my son about boundaries. I feel like before you can even talk to them about sex trafficking or anything like that, you have to first start with what they can understand, and that is what's in their domain, right? So, and it was even from the standpoint of, even if you don't want mommy to see, right? Even if you don't want me to see you, with your clothes off, it's your right. You can say, I need privacy. And that is okay. I won't be offended, right? You can close, and he started exercising it. You can close the door, and that is your time, that is your privacy. And I explained to him that some people don't understand boundaries, and that some people will still try and touch you and make you feel uncomfortable, but they will convince you that it's okay, or they'll try to convince you that it's okay. It is not okay. If anyone touches you and you are not comfortable, you tell them no, you set that boundary. And if anybody crosses that boundary and you're not comfortable, you tell me. And I said, and people will tell you that they will hurt you, that they will do something to me, so you won't tell. And I said, you better know that I will claw this entire earth to protect you. So don't let anybody tell you that, don't tell your mom or don't tell your dad because I'll do these things to you or to them. I said, don't you even worry about that because I will protect you. And so we started with like that. We started with that conversation. And then we moved into, I had to correct because he had his own perception of what he thought having sexual relationships were. And so when I felt like he was old enough, I started to have that conversation, and I gave him what I felt like, that meant, right? For adults, right? This is for adults. And, like I said, we had those conversations, and then he's also seen the documentary. And then I explained to him what trafficking is, what slavery is, and it does happen to kids. And so I think starting with boundaries, and if you've had that conversation, if you had the conversation about intercourse before their friends start telling them about it, or before television, you have to have those conversations first. And then I think it's easier to explain what trafficking is.
Absolutely. Anyone else?
Yeah, I would have to agree with Nisi. That's also where I started with my son, and it's where my mom started with me because she had been abused. Um, Once children become aware of their voice, because that's what gave me power, and my son exercises his power as well, his voice. I think that once they know that they have a voice and that they can use that voice, that's powerful. Um, and the other thing is, as parents, just really being involved in your children's lives. I think so often we're so busy and we miss so many things. We don't plan and take the time to really connect with our children, see what's going on. Um, see who they're playing with online, because a lot of these games have, on these games, they're talking to people that they don't even know,
Mhm.
and connecting with people they don't even know. And these people have agendas. So trafficking doesn't really have this one face. It's like, traffickers are always looking for another way to lure children in. And so I just think that as parents, we need to really, really be watchful, and we really need to teach our kids how to handle themselves, as Sandy said, in different situations, and as many situations as we could possibly show them, because it doesn't have one particular face.
I can tell you, I spot check my son's video game thing. He has the thing, and he's on there like doing whatever. And he gets on the game, and he has the headset. And I'll come in sometimes when he's playing, and I just take the headset and put it on, and I'm like, all right, I'm just listening because I want to hear for myself what's happening. Or sometimes, I'll listen. I'll hear him like answering certain questions, like if someone's asking him something, and I'm like, who's that? Who are you talking to? I really want to know.
And I can vouch for that because I've been on the phone with Richardo many times in his adventures of fatherhood. And I love the way he's involved in his son's life. I mean, he is involved, and he's not intrusively involved. He gives what's called conscious parenting. We call it conscious parenting, and that comes from Hendricks. Giving the love that heals, a guide to conscious parenting. And I've heard you, Richardo, and I'm telling you, I've seen you teach your children what's called self-efficacy. And I believe that's what's missing. They're missing that self-efficacy because they're not allowed to be their own individual human beings. And then something very important that Nisi and Tanika alluded to was making sure your children have a voice.
Mhm.
Oftentimes in our culture, we teach children ought to be seen and not heard. They can't talk back, especially in the African-American culture. OMG. I was scared to death. I didn't even know my mama's name until I was a teenager. I'm telling you the truth. They would ask you, what's your mama name, Mama?
Mama.
We wasn't allowed to call her Lily. What? We get slapped. You see what I'm saying? So children need a sense of self-efficacy, and they need to know how to steer their lives. When you taught your son, Nisi, baby, let me know if you're uncomfortable with me seeing you, because you changed his diapers.
Right.
You bathe him. You watch
Yep.
behind his ears, and you bathe him and his private parts until he was old enough to do it correctly. And we know boys take a little bit longer.
Listen.
Don't write me. I will not answer. I'm telling you the truth. They'll splash and be gone to get to the next
Sandy,
game.
we could have a whole nother show on that. Okay, a whole nother one.
And when amen, Nisi, and when Tanika talked about her son and the way we're parented. Listen, we're parented oftentimes according to the way our parent has parented us.
Yeah.
Our parents have told us many times, all these ideologies, where did they come from? Don't put a hat on the bed. Don't wash your clothes on New Year's.
Yeah.
Eat the greens and the black eyed peas. Why? Where did that come from? What does it mean?
For
Right.
good luck.
Don't let a man enter your door or a woman enter your door on New Year's. I'm sorry, I got it mixed up. Put a straw in your child's hair and it's gonna stop the hiccups. Put a plastic
Burn
bag
it.
on the forehead and it's gonna do. I'm sorry, I got it all mixed up because it was so many. But we take these and we apply them to our life. And you know what? These traffickers know it. These buyers know it. They know of the breakdown of the family. They know how to get into the children's heart. They know mom and daddy's going through a divorce and parents are tired and they're trying to make ends meet and they're trying to pay bills and they are not monitoring these phones. This is the best and worst invention in humanity, because I can't tell you how many times, even with my nieces, I would take their phone and I would see them pulling their pants down, showing the lower part of their hip and doing a number like this. And I'm like, what's going on with this picture? Like, what's going on? And I had to talk to the parents about putting BARK, BARK. It is a It's an app that you put on your phone and you block these sites and you take the phone. Why do your children have their phone 2 o'clock in the morning? Why are your children on their cell phones? This is not conscious parenting.
Yeah.
But let me finish with saying this here. Use this analogy, and because I love it, and I think what you said, Nisi, really helped me see this when I saw you telling your son he can close the door. Oh my gosh, that's novel. Like, that's not allowed. I would take the hinges off your door. You know, how many times have you heard that in our culture? But you told your son, darling, if you feel uncomfortable at any time, you know what? I'll knock. I'll give you that privacy before coming in your room. You're teaching your son how to drive. And what I mean by that, I'm going to ask you a question, and I pass the question on, and then Richardo, you take it from there. What happens if there's no lines on the highway while we're driving? What happens if we're driving and the lines are just mysteriously removed? And what the lines I'm talking about is those lines that shows us what lane to stay in when we're driving on the highway.
Right.
Go ahead and answer the question, and we'll take it from there.
Oh, to me, it's simple: trafficking, right? So I look at it from the standpoint of, to a trafficker, there are no lanes, there are no boundaries, right? So the purpose is to make money, right? And they're going to make money by selling human flesh, right? And so to them, that is not a person, just like we weren't thought of as a person back in the days of slavery. Right. I say this all the time. Slavery, right? Slavery, it ended, right? Because it was the right thing to do. But we have to think about the money that was being made from slavery, the wealth from this country, not just our country, the world, the wealth in the world. We talk about the richest people in the world. The richest people are the kings and the queens that are in Europe, right? Because, you know, they basically supported and founded slavery, and basically that's how they built their wealth. So when we said we abolished slavery, you couldn't convince a whole group of people that it's wrong.
Amen.
They're just going to do it in the dark. So these are still underground transactions that are still happening today. And it's to me, still an extension of what was happening in the past. So we're, like you said, we're not new to this, right? But we have to remind ourselves that we're not new to this as a people, and really call it for what it is. And I like what you said earlier, that don't just call out sex trafficking, because I feel like when people separate sex trafficking from human trafficking on all, there's, you know, the different types of trafficking, then we lower the numbers. It's still the same group of people impacted. It's still the same people or persons that are being sold to do work, whether it's sex work, whether it's construction work. It's still a group of people that are forced to do labor against their will and not being paid for it. And so I think that like I said, with trafficking, there are no boundaries to a trafficker. There are no lanes, right? So
no lines, no demarcations.
Yep.
Angel or Tanika?
I absolutely agree 100%. I could not say it any better, Nisi. There is no boundaries. It is the fastest growing industry in the world. And this is not new. This is something that's happened from the beginning of time. From the beginning of time. And it's a lot of times we don't know how to approach it. We don't know what to say to our children. Thank you so much, Nisi, for giving that information out here to some, because some of the children are very innocent and they don't understand what that is. Like, what? But for you to show them that, you know, that they can protect themselves and they have rights to keep themselves covered in front of other people, or, you know, what you were saying was very, very important. So, yeah.
Yes.
And to add to that, it's very important that we teach our children, especially our male children, to respect boundaries. You know, no means no. You know, just have personal boundaries themselves, and to respect the people around them, to respect their boundaries. Like they need to know that what society sometimes deem as normal is not normal. That certain things are not okay, because as they go out into the world, as they're in school, as they're around their friends, they're going to be exposed to so many different things, and they need to. It's better for them to hear it from us, their parents, and know what it looks like from us than to hear it from their friend who, you know, thinks it's okay to disrespect or cross um, other people's boundaries.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that, Tanika.
I wanted to also add to what you were saying earlier about Bark, right? So, if anybody is interested in an application like that, and you have Verizon, Verizon also has Family Link, and I think most of the cell phone services now offer some type of program where you can actually. So, for example, if my son goes to try to download an application, it sends me a request to my phone to approve it, and then I also can actually monitor how much time he's on the internet and actually set blocks of time to say, you can only play it for 1 hour a day during the week, or not at all, Monday through Friday, and only 2 hours on the weekend. So you can actually control and limit what they see and what applications. So I just wanted to mention that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's so important because a lot of parents don't even know that Bark is out there, that Covenant Eyes is out there. Right now, according to research, the youngest person addicted to pornography right now is 6 years old.
That we know of.
That we know of. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for delineating that, Nisi, that we know of.
Yeah.
And so with that understanding, what does that say to us? That child, before even growing, before the brain is fully developed, you're learning to objectify women. You're learning to disrespect women, because initially that's what happens. Your amygdala gets hijacked. Your amygdala is a gland in your brain that neuroscience now informs us it gets hijacked. Your neurotransmitters in your brain becomes hijacked. And now we live in a very robotic and AI, being artificial intelligent society, where sex dolls. We've graduated from sex toys. Now it's sex dolls and things like this that further feeds that deviancy. And I'll tell you what that looks like in real life. While we're waiting for Richardo to come back on, is Jeffrey Dahmer. So as a psychologist, we do research on different movies like Split. I don't know who is listening to me, or one of our members here have seen this movie called Split. And it's about DID, which is dissociative identity disorder. We used to call it multiple personality disorder, but we don't refer to that anymore in the DSM. And so now we understand, where is that coming from? All these psychosis is developed early in childhood, oftentimes below the age of 9. So what is happening to children below the age of 9? Well, we know that divorce is 50% and more right now in our society. So divorce is happening. That's a grief. Moving, that's a grief. Domestic violence in the home, another grief, and trauma. Okay. All these things equate to grief and trauma, and it makes a personality like Split. And then Jeffrey Dahmer. Most of us know this gentleman, Jeffrey Dahmer, because he made news for what he has done to men, abusing them, killing them, and then consuming them. And now that our host is back, I'll pass it on to him. I was just mentioning what makes this deviant behavior. And before Jeffrey was killed in prison, he left us with a gift. He left us with a gift. And I'll just say this, and I know that sounds a little strange. Jeffrey Dahmer left us with a gift. And his gift is this. He said on tape what caused him to become the way he was, to become the way that he had this insatiable desire to do what he did, to snatch people, to rape them, and to ultimately kill them, because he said the urge got worse and worse and worse and worse. Because when you feed that urge, whatever you feed gets bigger, right? Whatever you starve will eventually die. So with that being said, he left countless interviews on saying that he needed to be arrested, that if he wasn't arrested, he would continue to rape and kill and be a carnivore for the people that he took. And we know that with sex trafficking, with porn use and things of that nature, the neurotransmitters needs more to get that same impact that you've done before. It's almost like cigarettes. If one cigarette satisfied me in 2010, I'm going to need at least 10 a day now, and then on and on and on, because the body gets used to that. And as it acclimates to that, it needs more and it needs more. And the same thing is true in these sex buyers and in human trafficking. Back to you, Richardo.
No, thank you for keeping the conversation live and going. I had some technical difficulties here. So my computer like totally just shut down for whatever reason, like in the middle.
Gosh.
So I am live with you right now from my phone. So that was shocking to me and threw me off. But I was watching you guys continuing the conversation on Facebook while I was troubleshooting the issues behind the scenes. So thank you guys for keeping it going. I did have the video queued up on the screen to show, but it doesn't even come back on yet. So what I will do is wait.
If you need me to share that, I couldn't share it, Richardo.
Yes. So if you wouldn't mind doing that for me, just putting it in like full screen. So thank you guys for joining us. This is Campbell Talk, and today we have Angel, Nisi, Tamika, and Dr. Sandra on talking about human trafficking and red flags, tips, how to talk to your kids, how to recognize, what's going on, some things that we can do to avoid this from happening, and starting early, and to also understand that this doesn't just impact women or girls. This impacts all of us, boys, men. And so they have a docuseries. Is it a docuseries that talks about trafficking and people sharing their stories. And so we're getting ready to show you the trailer for that docuseries. And then we hope that not only will you watch it, we want you to actually go on and watch the series. And we also want you to share the trailer. And in case you're like just wondering, like, okay, how do I begin to have this conversation, right? Because you might have teenagers and preteens, whatever. Watch the trailer, watch some of the docuseries, and I'm sure that you'll be able to use one of those docuseries to begin having those conversations. It's so very important that we do that. Me and my husband. Thank you, Dr. Sandra, for echoing some of the things that we've been saying, and we've had so many conversations. But my husband is a big part of that too, because we bounce off each other just to make sure that we're providing everything that our children need. And so it's so important. Like we feel sometimes we're like, are we holding the bag too tight? Are we holding the string too tight? And we're like, okay, you can go, but we're like sitting in the car.
Right.
And we're like, okay, we're like this, and he's a boy. Can you imagine if we had a girl, a daughter? And so it just blows my mind sometimes when I see, like how some parents are with their kids, and the girl, they're like, where's your daughter? I don't know, she didn't come home yet. She's like,
Exactly.
I was like, what? They tried to play a trick on me the other day, And there, I came home from a meeting and it was kind of late, maybe about 11, and my son was hiding somewhere in the closet, and I said, "Where's Michael?" It was the first question. One, two, three. Okay, somebody's missing. Where's Michael? And my husband was like, "Oh, he didn't come home from school yet. I thought he was with you." And I was like, "Don't play." Don't play, because we are about to go turn over this school. We're about to go turn this neighborhood upside down. So and I was like, no, y'all was playing with me, and sure enough, he was hiding. I was like, don't. But a lot of parents aren't like that, and so we have to, if we're serious about protecting the next generation of individuals and protecting our legacy as a community, as a people, we
Yes.
have to pull your neighbors. Say, listen, we got to talk. We got to talk about this. Pull, hold community meeting, have community meetings, have whatever we need to do. All these things that we do to support our community, let this be a part of that. Let conversations be a part of that. I don't
Yes.
know.
I have that video ready. Whenever you're ready, Ricardo.
I am ready. I am ready.
All right. Do you see my screen right now?
No.
Okay, just one moment. I'm going to go ahead and go here. And what about now?
Yes, we can see you,
Okay, but not the video?
not the video.
Did you click share screen?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did. It's sharing now. It says it's sharing. Let's see. Yeah, it said it was sharing. Hold on. Let's try that again. Just one moment. I have it pulled up. I see it here on the side. So I know it's shared because I see it right here in the side. Let's try that again. Share this tab. Yes.
And what we're going to do too is that we're going to include the link in the.
Daughter named Alexis.
Okay, we hear it.
Okay, so let's see if I can continue with that. And do I need to come on the camera to share, or can I just share it? It should be able to just share without me coming on screen. Is that correct?
Yeah, you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, so it says share.
Let me see if I can do it.
Okay, here we go. You see it now?
Nope.
No.
Let me see if I can do it. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let you go ahead and try.
And she used to love to sit on my lap, and she would take her finger and she would twirl
Stop
my
it.
hair.
Yeah.
And it would be so annoying, but I
Can you see my screen?
Okay, let me come back. I see you, Nisi.
Okay, let me click this one. It says stop screen. You're in. I can see the shared screen. You guys don't see another.
Yeah,
No.
same with mine. It shows that it's sharing. It shows it in the queue here and everything. But for some reason, I think
this.
I have a
Still don't see
daughter
it?
named Alexis.
No, we keep hearing the audio though.
What
Yeah.
does it look like on Facebook though? Is it showing?
Oh, right. Let me check Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Because I'm sharing it from Facebook. And for some reason, it's, hold on. It says sharing. Yes. Okay. I see it.
Yeah, no, I'm
And
on
you don't-
Facebook too, and I don't see it.
You see it now? Do you see it, the video now? It's like right there. It's showing in the StreamYard.
Yeah, that's how it
so
was for me
strange.
too. I don't know.
That's the strangest thing. So we can put the link there. I think if anything, we can definitely put the link on.
Yeah, I'll definitely put the link out so this way folks can take a look at that. So, yeah, no. All right, my computer is coming back up, so maybe by the time we're
Okay.
finished talking, hopefully. All right, so Angel, um, Angel, let's start with you. What would be like a takeaway that you would want parents to kind of like understand or do in relations to human trafficking?
Very good question. I would say pay attention to your children. Too often we are so busy in our own lives and our marriages that we forget to pay attention to our children. And sometimes they could be throwing us off warning signs that something's wrong and we're not seeing them. We can be too busy if they're trying to talk to us and we can push them away maybe later. But they could be trying to tell us something very important, that they just was raped or somebody's after them, or so it's very important that we pay attention to them, what they're watching, what they're listening to, have conversations with them, keep them involved. When my daughter started showing signs, I didn't know these signs because I didn't pay attention. I was one of those parents that was too busy, that wasn't, that was too busy for my children. And I say that not to put shame to myself, but I say it to help somebody else. That it's very, very important to pay attention to your children. Yeah.
Okay, Tamika.
I would say, in addition to paying attention to your children, as parents, it's our duty. I believe it. God gave us the role to be parents because we are stewards of our families, and we're supposed to protect our children. That's one of our responsibilities as parents. And so, sometimes we know we have this innate ability to know when something's off, know when something's a little fishy. Um, so I would say go with that, and even in addition to that, um, listen to your child, because a lot of times, oftentimes, children are saying things that they might not be saying directly.
Mm.
And I guess it kind of goes back to paying attention, just really, really learning how to communicate with your children and understanding. So the generation is very different. Now there's just so many things. We're in an information age, so to speak. So there's so many things thrown at our children, and they may not even know how to process the stuff that they're dealing with. And we don't know sometimes either. But again, it's our responsibility to have understanding, and just really, really try to see where they are and meet them where they are without criticizing, without, over judging, but just really giving them a safe space to communicate with us and share the things with us that they're going through.
Awesome. Nisi.
I would say one of the things I would like to leave with the parents tonight is don't think that just because your child is brought up in a safe home, a good family, that they're immune. We said tonight that there are no boundaries. That includes zip codes. This is, yes, it happens to Black kids more, but it also happens to white kids that come from good families. And what people don't realize is that your child can actually be trafficked and still make it home for dinner.
That's right.
Right. So I think we think that it's always they're going to be kidnapped and we're not going to see them again. No, a lot of times it's a mental thing where they're kidnapped in their mind. Right. And so someone is able to convince them. It may not be food or shelter, but if your child has a want that trafficker can convince them is a need, whether it be new sneakers, a video game, whatever it might be, a card to play more video games. These are things that traffickers use to entice kids that come from good homes, right? And before you know it, they sign up for something that they didn't bargain for, and they're afraid to come and tell you about it. Wow. So I'll also say is, make sure that your kid knows that no matter what they do, you're always going to love them. And so that's the conversation I also had with my son. No matter what, there's nothing that you could ever do to make me stop loving you. You might do some things and I might be upset. And I said, but when I get upset, am I okay? Like, am I okay in an hour? Am I okay the next day? And he said, yes. And I said, exactly. So if I'm upset with you, it won't last long. I'd rather you tell me if something happened and let us deal with it together as a family than not tell me. There's nothing you can ever do that would make me stop loving you or make me angry enough for you not to tell me. So I think that's what I would like to leave with parents tonight.
Okay. Dr. Anderson.
Oh, I'm so full from what I've heard from Tanika and Angel and Nisi that I'll just leave this analogy with you. Evil gets in through the cracks, right? That's how it gets in. I want to look at the family, and that's why I became a counselor of marriage and family therapy, because that's how it gets in. It gets into the family. I want you to think about being in the wild. Think about the family, the animal families in the wild. They run in packs. They stay together because there's safety together. It's when one of them get left behind, one of them fall behind, one of them are missing, one of them are the misfit, the black sheep, and they get missing, and evil gets in through the cracks. It's just like it's like if you have a crack in your window, you know a bug gonna get in. Y'all know we don't like bugs, especially the big palmetto bugs.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And don't let it get in and then you can't find it.
Right.
Ain't nobody going to
Sleeping tonight. Nobody.
Especially those big palmetto bugs. Okay.
That fly.
We know they get in through the cracks. And we need to understand the emotional cracks in our family. That's how they get in. I can't say it best, and these ladies have already said it. When we leave an emotional hole in our children because we're not seeing them, we're not hearing them, we're not hugging them, we're not loving them, we're not filling them up, letting them know that there's nothing they can do that's going to stop us from loving them, that we're going to always be there. But it takes us being healed enough to do it. As a parent, I wasn't there. I could not give my children what I did not have, right? Because it wasn't given to me. So this is transgenerational. So I had to get healing. I had to self-differentiate. I had to get self-efficacy. Then I was able to tell my children, you know what, baby? I'm sorry. You know, I was so wrong about so many things because I was so young. I was a mother at 13 years old. What did I know about being a mother? You know? And so and that's coming from a life of trafficking and trauma. So it took years, even in my motherhood, to get whole and to get healed. But we have to lose the ego. We got to we got to kill the ego that won't allow us to tell our children, you know what, baby, I'm sorry. I missed it. I missed the cues. I didn't cue into you. I wasn't attuned to you. I was too busy trapped in my own trauma, my own issues, my own relationship issues, you know, and especially with us as women, we feel like we need somebody, anybody, at the sake and at the risk of our children, right? And that's where we have to be able to apologize. We have to become aware. Listen, it's never too late to start again. It's never too late to reparent. It's never too late to gather the family back together and seal up the cracks. Right. Seal them up in your family. So I'm after the family, because if we can heal our family, no supply, no demand.
That's right.
No supply, no demand. We have to heal our families. And the last thing I'll say is there's no healing without the wonderful counselor of Christ. He is the wonderful counselor. And because he came into my life and he healed me and he made all things new, despite going through trafficking, despite trying to commit suicide and was in the back of an ambulance getting my stomach pumped, despite being a crack addict arrested on national TV, despite being a woman just out of her 20s and being diagnosed with AIDS. Despite everything I went through, he makes all things new, and it's never too late. Don't ever let anybody tell you it's too late or your life is over. That is a lie from Satan himself. He is a liar. He's the father of lies, the Bible call him, okay? So just know it's never too late to start your life again and to heal your family. Heal your family. And Bowen systems theory, that's the psychologist that informs my practice, along with biblical principles. I promise you, if you're teachable, it's fixable, and you can save your family and save your children from ever being
a victim.
Oh, I think we probably
Okay.
lost her
Yeah, I
little.
think the computer I heard the sound, so maybe the computer.
Okay. All right. So thank you all for sharing. But before I let you guys go, I would love for you to put away either an email or a phone number or something in the message in the comment section, or a website, so this way people know where to find you or how to contact you. Um, if they are looking for someone to come and maybe talk to a group of folks or talk to parents, if you can please share an email address, a phone number, a website where people can contact you to learn more about how they can either invite you to come talk to their groups, their church groups, their social groups, their community, because we absolutely need to protect our community at all costs.
So for some reason, I am not seeing the option to add anything to the comments, only to our chat.
Okay, so if you send it to me, what
Okay.
I will do is I'll make sure that I put it over there.
Okay. And I also have it on my name, all of my social media, Nisi at Nisi Curl. And then I can be found on, hold on here.
Yeah, where my computer went all the way blank. I was like, oh no, what happened?
In the meantime, just to say it vocally, in addition
Yes.
to writing it down, for the film project, all of our social media handles are Taking Innocence, and that's Facebook, Instagram, yeah, and I believe that's and YouTube. Yeah, the trailer is on YouTube as well. It's all Taking Innocence.
Awesome.
I also put that, Taking Innocence, in the private chat.
Okay.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to do um view the film with their church organization or students and have us to come in and speak as well, we're definitely here to do that. We did it last year with St. Thomas University, and we had an amazing turnout that's right there in the city of Miami Gardens. And just what we learned, and I think you started with it at the top of the hour talking about boys. We had a couple of men, very young men, that came and said that they were trafficked as well. So a lot of times the numbers when it comes to men, I believe, are unreported. The statistics show 1 in 3, but I believe it's higher than that because men are just not going to come forward the way women will.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a gentleman on not too long ago. We had a gentleman on who was what's his name? Dennis O'Brien. He runs a organization that focused on male sexual assault. And so he was talking about how a lot of times male sexual assault is underreported.
Yeah.
And because of that, a lot of times men do not get the therapy that they need or get the support that they need because they're basically being taught like to man up or not to cry or not to show, not to be soft, quote unquote. And so they kind of like let a lot of things go on and on and on and on. So he was talking about that and why we should kind of like have a more supportive environment just in order to be able to facilitate that.
Yes. And actually that night, Sandy's not on, but she spoke that night And she said, men should be allowed to cry. And one of the young men came up to her that night and said, I hadn't cried in a very, very long time until tonight. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to cry. And so what you said is that's very key. We treat our men or boys, young boys, differently than we treat our young girls. And we have to stop that. So very, very good, great point. And we got Sandy back.
Thank you. All right, I just lost the audio.
Uh-oh.
I know. Can you hear me? You can still hear
Yes,
me?
I can hear you.
All right. So I shared the Nisi curl and taking innocence. So anyone out there, well, first of all, I want to thank you guys for coming on the show tonight, and we'll definitely be making sure that we invite you guys back again to have conversations around this topic and more. And actually, we'll invite you guys back on so we can go through one of those episodes and just kind of like talk, have some conversation around that, because I think it's sometimes people want the resources, but sometimes they want it to come to them.
Right.
And so since we're in the spirit of giving in 2022, we're going to bring it to them. So we'll definitely be doing that. Again, we'll share the link. So thanks again, Dr. Sandra. Thanks, Angel. Thank you, Tamika. And thank you, Nisi, for being on the show. We really, really appreciate you. And thank you for taking your time and being our guest.
Thank you for having
Campbell
us.
Health Solutions, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And to our viewers out there, we just want to thank you so much for tuning in and watching us. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and follow. And also remember that the information that you hear tonight, there's some resources in the link at Taking Innocence, and you can find more information about if you need support. If you are going through something right now and you need to talk to someone, you can find some resources there. If you reach out to us at Campbell Health Solution, we will connect you with the folks who can guide you and provide the resources that you need. Thank you again for being a part of the show. And we look forward to hearing from you. If you have questions, comments, feedback, we would love to hear it. Thanks again.